Several of the poorest nations in the world are found in Africa. Many of the economies of these African countries are unstable, and poverty is widespread. To add salt to injury, the global pandemic back in 2020 and the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine have put millions of people in Africa on the verge of starvation. A hopeless situation seems to only be getting worse. Despite these challenges, the 54 countries that make up Africa have some of the fastest growing economies in the world. It is predicted that the African economy, supported by its trade, agricultural, and natural resource sectors, will have a GDP of $29 trillion by 2050. Unfortunately, very few countries account for a greater portion of Africa's wealth than the continent itself, which is unevenly distributed. According to the most recent 2022 Africa Wealth Report, which was published by Henley and Partners and New World Wealth, the total amount of private wealth currently held on the African continent is estimated to be $2.1 trillion, and it is expected to rise by 38% over the following 10 years. Private wealth is a term used to describe a person's net assets, which can include things like cash, stocks, real estate, and business interests. The majority of the wealthiest businesses and people in Africa, as measured by market capitalization and net worth, are headquartered in these 5 nations and others. Africa's wealth is measured in terms of its natural resources and socio-geographical potentials, including, but not limited to, coal, petroleum, chemicals, wood, metals, and minerals. Despite Africa's disadvantages in comparison to other continents, its wealth is significant enough to warrant visible development. According to Henley's publication, only 5 countries account for more than half of Africa's wealth. Over the next 10 years, these 5 countries are expected to experience strong growth in private wealth of more than 50%. In this video, we will take a look at the 5 top countries with 50% of all Africa's wealth. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Number 5 on the list is Kenya, which holds $91 billion of the continent's total private wealth. Kenya, which is located in East Africa close to the Indian Ocean's coast, has a population of around 54 million people and a 2022 GDP estimate of $110.4 billion. It is also the biggest and most significant financial, commercial, and transportation base in East Africa. Kenya emerged as one of sub-Saharan Africa's fastest-growing economies in 2019. The country's agriculture sector, which mostly produces coffee, tea, and maize, has made a substantial contribution to the country's GDP. Due to this, the country has seen increased exports, tourism, and quick financial growth in recent years. Over the years, its coastline has evolved into a venue for multiple vital ports for Asian and Arabian commerce. Its fast-expanding agricultural sector is the wealthiest in Southeast and Central Africa. The nation has a beautiful landscape, abundant wildlife, stable living conditions, and a well-established coffee and tea industry. Unlike other less developed nations, Kenya does not rely heavily on the oil industry for its income. Instead, the nation makes sound investments that help it grow a thriving service industry and other profitable enterprises. With an estimated net worth of more than $3 billion, the Moi family is considered to be the wealthiest in Kenya. A large portion of this wealth was amassed during the late Daniel Arap Moi's 24 years as president of Kenya. They also made several investments that contributed to their net worth. Morocco is the next country on our list and holds the 4th spot among the top 5 nations that make up half of Africa's wealth. With an astounding GDP of around $132.7 billion, this North African nation accounts for $125 billion of all private wealth in Africa. This African nation's economy is broad and stable, and over the last 10 years, it has expanded across several industries. Morocco, which has a population of almost 37 million and a land area of 446,300 square kilometers, is bordered by the Atlantic and Mediterranean seas. Morocco is the world's third largest producer of phosphorus and has reaped significant benefits as a result. The country has made a lot of money from its diverse exports of goods like inorganic chemicals, crude minerals, fertilizers, petroleum products, fruits and vegetables, and electrical equipment and vehicle parts. Morocco's economy is primarily driven by mining and manufacturing, but the tertiary sector accounts for 55% of its economic growth. The country also has a vibrant tourism sector. Morocco's government has been intentionally making an effort to boost tourism, and it has paid off. One of the wealthiest Africans in the world, Aziz Akanouch, resides in Morocco and has a net worth of $1.9 billion, which he got through the oil and gas industry. The third country on our list is Nigeria, the most populous nation in Africa. On the list of nations in Africa that account for half of the continent's wealth, Nigeria comes in third place. A total of $228 billion are held in private wealth in this West African country. Nigeria is an economic giant in oil production with an impressive 159 oil fields, the Niger Delta Basin being the most productive. According to the Organization of Petroleum Exploiting Countries, Nigeria produces approximately 1.6 million barrels of crude oil per day. These petroleum exports account for 10% of the country's total GDP and more than 80% of export revenue. Nigeria is the 8th largest exporter of petroleum in the world and the 12th largest producer, with a GDP of over $440 billion. The country has a total area of 923,967 square kilometers and a population of over 218 million people spread across 36 states. Nigeria also possesses a plethora of other raw materials and natural resources that contribute to the prosperity of the country. These include materials like iron ore, coal, limestone, zinc, lead, and tin. The largest cement producer in sub-Saharan Africa is owned by Dangote, who hails from Nigeria. He is also the richest person in all of Africa. Dangote's cement generated $2.5 billion in revenue in 2019. It also has interests in packaged foods, oil, salt, sugar, and fertilizer. Apart from having one of the best GDP outputs in Africa, Nigeria is renowned for its diverse and vibrant culture and its beautiful landscape. Egypt can be found in the northeastern corner of Africa and takes the second position on the list of countries that account for more than half of Africa's wealth. The country controls $307 billion of the continent's total private wealth. It is believed to be the 12th most populous country in the world, with a population of over 100 million people. Interestingly, Egypt has one of the longest histories of any country, dating back to the 4th millennium. Thus, it is regarded as one of the most advanced countries on the African continent. The country's energy market is based on coal, oil, hydropower, and natural gas. Egypt's economic situation has gradually improved after a period of stagnation as a result of more liberal policies implemented by its government. Also, Egypt's tourism revenues and stock exchange earnings have increased. Another factor contributing to Egypt's economic success is that its nationals abroad contribute enormously to the development of the primary sector. According to the World Bank, remittances Egyptians earned and sent by Egyptians living in foreign countries to their homeland are worth trillions. Tourism, energy, transportation, water supply, and sanitation are among other profitable areas of Egypt's economy. Nevertheless, Egypt may have certain socioeconomic difficulties as a result of a high proportion of its population living below the poverty line. Unemployment, a poor healthcare system, and a global downturn in economic activity. The richest person in Egypt is Nasser Sawiris, a well-known billionaire businessman with a net worth of $7.4 billion, who contributes around 6% of the GDP of the nation through his construction and investing operations. The nation of South Africa is at the top of the list of the countries that have more than half of Africa's wealth. The nation holds $651 billion of the continent's total private wealth. The country sits on 1,221,037 square kilometers of land and is popular for its progressive, socio-economic, and multicultural potential. This nation is multiracial and has a GDP of $419 billion. Johannesburg, the first and richest city in South Africa, has a total private wealth of $239 billion, making it the richest city on the whole continent. The second is Cape Town, which has $131 billion in wealth. The mining industry is booming in South Africa. The nation is ranked 6th in the world for mineral wealth and produces gold and diamonds in substantial quantities. South Africa was the birthplace of many scientific innovations, including heart transplants and crystallographic electron microscopy. The country is also home to the world's richest black person of African origin, Elon Musk, as well as many other African billionaires. Despite the country's status and wealth, South Africa continues to have high levels of unemployment and poverty. Sadly, it also ranks high in the world for economic inequality. It is interesting that South Africa ranks 28th in terms of total private wealth internationally, notwithstanding recent world events and the condition on the continent. This is ahead of other economies such as Argentina, Malaysia, Thailand, and Turkey, for example. According to the report, Africa is home to more than 136,000 high net worth individuals at the moment. These people must have a private wealth of $1 million or more to qualify as such. In addition to this, the continent is home to 21 billionaires and 305 millionaires, each of whom has over $100 million. There is no doubt that there is much wealth in the continent of Africa. However, it's rather unfortunate that this wealth can be found in few countries. But the future looks promising with countries like Rwanda, Mauritius, and Uganda, whose economies are growing rapidly. So there you have it, the 5 countries with 50% of all Africa's wealth. If you enjoyed this video, watch also the next video on your screen, which presents the 10 African countries with the highest defense budgets. As always, make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting trending and development topics in Africa.